Hello, and thanks for joining me for another episode of the Down Low on Downton Abbey, which I'm going to keep very brief since it's sort of late to be talking about what I thought about last Sunday when this Sunday's episode is going to be on in just a few more hours. One of the things that I thought was interesting about the episode, although overall there really wasn't a lot of interesting stuff happening, I think it was more one of those episodes that feels like it's sort of setting the stage for the more interesting things to come. However, we did see that Carson disagreed with Lord Grantham, and that told me that in all these years that Carson has been very like-minded with Lord Grantham, it wasn't just to secure his job. He really did agree with him. And in this one situation, he did not agree. However, and that you would think that'd be very unsettling for Carson, but I think he was a little more unsettled when he also didn't agree with Mrs. Hughes because it's obvious that Carson puts a great deal of stock in the friendship that he has with Mrs. Hughes, and that's really nice. We had this situation with Sarah Bunting coming to the Abbey to spend time with Daisy, talking about teaching her about math. And then when Rose found out that Sarah Bunting was there, she asked for permission to invite Sarah to stay for dinner, which to me did not seem at all realistic. I had a feeling that in the real world, Cora probably would have said to Rose, well, now, Rose, you realize that Miss Bunting is in no way dressed for dinner since, look around the room. We're wearing tuxedos and tiaras, and that is not going to be her situation. Then, on the other hand, if she feels like it's rude or she's going to hurt my feelings by saying no, she might say yes and stay for dinner when she doesn't really want to be here. So I didn't think that was very realistic at all, the way they set that up. And then we're once again rehashing the whole thing about, is Tom going to stay with the aristocracy, or is Tom going to go back to his rebellious frame of mind? And one of the things that I thought when they sort of settled that question last season, that Tom had expressed how he thought it was important that Sibby be with Sybil's family. So I don't know. Just this feels like a stretch. Like they're bringing up something that had, in some regards, been settled last season, but just it's a conflict that they're renewing for the sake of storytelling. Speaking of conflict, Anna went to the apothecary, was not very happy about the way that she was treated, nor should she be. And but then again, the whole reason why wealthy people had servants was so they wouldn't have to buy their own birth control. So now we have Mary, who has gone off to audition Lord Gillingham. And I don't know that that is going to turn out a great success. I think there was a little foreshadowing there by having one of Mary's other suitors come along and say, well, I really don't agree with your choice, but that's the choice you've made and good for you. And you could just see that Mary was a little doubting then after having had that conversation. And of course, she does know now that that is the gentleman. I can't remember. I can't remember his name, but she now knows that of the two that he has the more money, and now he's saying to Mary, well, you can go with Tony. He's a great guy, but he's not very smart. And I can just see that Mary would wonder if that would really be the type of person that she would want to be married to for the rest of her life. Maybe something that she didn't fully consider before. So that's kind of interesting. I do think that the outcome of this situation of Mary going on this trip is that I suspect she's not going to pick Tony, but then the word is going to be out that they had this trip together, and that's going to cause some flutters. So I think that's something that's going to continue to be a part of the story for the rest of the season, the repercussions of going on this trip. Yes, now we have a situation where there is someone who can possibly identify Mr. Bates as being a part of Mr. Green's murder, but nobody is really too concerned about that because we already had Bates in jail. I suppose everybody can get a little worried, but I do not see them repeating the Bates goes to jail storyline, especially when it didn't really go over very well the first time. So that leads us to another interesting note to consider. Maybe the witness did not see a man push Mr. Green. Maybe the witness actually saw a woman push Mr. Green. Could it possibly have been Anna? I don't know. That would certainly be a little more interesting than going back to the whole thing with Bates. And speaking of things that are kind of dragging on a little too long, we have the whole situation with Baxter where she stole the jewels, but we can all tell that she didn't do it out of greed because that's not the type of person she is. When are we going to get the whole story about Baxter and the jewels? And wasn't that somewhat heartbreaking to see Mr. Mosley confronting her, wanting her to give him information that would justify the way that he feels about her because he does like her so much. And I thought that that was a very compelling scene. And although Mr. Mosley oftentimes is used for comic relief, in this situation he was very sincere, and it was a little sad to see him in that situation. So that, for the most part, is what's going on with this week. I hope you enjoy upcoming Downton Abbeys, and hopefully, I'll have some interesting comments about the episode happening tonight. Let's hope. Oh gosh, and then of course we'll have Edith and what's going on with her and that family. Oh, Edith, I just don't see that working out well. I can just tell you that little Marigold, there's going to be crying. Edith's going to be crying. Little Marigold's going to be crying. Too much crying. So let's just move on. Okay, till next week.